right, people, it's July 29th, 2024. I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. We're live streaming on Rumble, Locals, and YouTube. As always, share, subscribe, tap that notification bell, and ladles and jelly spoons. I've only got 3 more shows before going off the grid for all of August. Yes, despite the fact that the world is hanging on by a thread and the president's not really the president and they're propping up this Marxist and they tried to shoot the orange guy and the whole thing, I am still leaving. No phone, no TV, no news, no current events, no nothing for a month. It is one of the ways that I have managed to stay sane while doing this all these years. And I know a lot of people in this political space kind of go off the deep end. If you're watching this, I assume you think I'm at least roughly sane, and that's one of the ways I do it. By 1/12 of the year, not in the game. We will have plenty of content for you in August. Hope you'll chime into some of those things that we're going to be putting up, but I am disappearing, that's right. And then I'll come back with fresh perspective and a clean and clear mind, and then we'll just dive back into the circus. Anyway, the theme of the show today is tying together a lot of the themes that we're constantly talking about here. But Jordan Peterson was on Joe Rogan's show a couple days ago, and they got into it about, well, you know, they do like a 3-hour operation over there. They got into it about a whole bunch of stuff, but we're going to connect sort of the woke craziness, particularly as it pertains to child genital mutilation, also known as trans surgery or whatever you want to call it at this point, and how actually it's connected to something else that happened over the weekend, which was the beginning of the Paris Olympics, which went so ridiculously woke as it pertains to all of the gender stuff. And then we'll connect that to something else that's happening right now, which is that as they've pushed Joe Biden out, and yes, I still say it is a coup, and we actually have a little more evidence of that we'll get to in the second half of the show, they are ushering in a woke Marxist, and that is Kamala Harris. So there is a massive onslaught happening right now, and I think that there are a couple ways that we can stop it, and we're going to get into it, and it includes never apologizing if you have nothing to apologize for. It includes finding the sane people, because we're not the only ones out there, and then, you know, maybe taking care of your stuff first, you know, clean your room before you clean the world. How about a little bit of that? Anyway, so we're doing all of that on this Monday, but let me talk to you about the Contagion Kit real quick first. Guys, pay attention. We're living in perilous times. Assassination attempts, coups seeking to take over our government, cybersecurity threats, and we're just heating up. Man, I am taking the right time to go off the grid. Now, Forbes just put out an article that our government is handing $176 million to Moderna to whip up an mRNA bird flu vaccine. They're gearing up for the next big pandemic, and we can't trust the establishment with our health any longer. We must take matters into our own hands. I'm protecting my family with the Contagion Emergency Kit from the Wellness Company, and now you can too. The kit is no joke. It's your frontline defense against whatever they throw at us next. It comes with ivermectin, HCQ, Z-Pak, Tamiflu, budesonide, along with a nebulizer, so you can rest easy knowing that you have emergency meds on hand, along with a guidebook for safe use. Every family in America needs at least one of these kits. It's like having an urgent care in the comfort of your own home. Get your Contagion Emergency Kit right now for as low as the cost of a single doctor's visit. At the end of the day, you just having these life-saving medications on hand, so you won't have to think about it, is worthwhile. Be proactive, be prepared, take control of your health. Don't wait for the next crisis. Go to twc.health/Rubin and grab your Contagion Emergency Kit now. That's twc.health/Rubin. Code Rubin saves you $45 at checkout. Kits available only in the US of A. And now back to me. Okay, so trust me on the adventure that we are taking you today. It's going to be a little circuitous, but we're going to get there. So I want to start with Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan talking about gender-affirming care and how everything that is purported to be good these days is actually evil, and that at least the evil people from back in the day knew they were evil, where these people are doing it in the name of being good.
It was typical for girls to undergo a fair bit of confusion when they hit puberty, and that would take the form of negative emotion. No one told her that. They just rushed her down the puberty blocking and surgical pathway. That's inexcusable.
It's evil.
Yeah, it is. It's the worst thing. It's the worst thing I've seen professionals do, not only in my lifetime. I've studied atrocity for 40 years. I've never seen anything worse than what's happening right now. And that includes the sorts of things that were done in the camps in Germany. At least the goddamn Nazis admitted what they did was wrong. They tried to hide it. We trumpet it as a moral virtue. We're freeing the children. It's like, no, I don't think so. Mothers, I think what you're doing is sacrificing your child to the parading of your moral virtue. Oh, my son, he's so confused. He thinks he's a girl, but I still love him. That's how wonderful I am. Jesus Christ, Joe. You have no idea how dark that is.
It's dark.
It's unbelievably
and it's
dark.
attached to an industry now.
Yeah, that's
which is
for
very
sure.
scary. There was
An industry and an ideology.
There was an article that was recently released where this person admitted that they said it was what was the exact phrase? That the way they described gender transition as life-saving medical care in order to get insurance for it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise insurance won't pay for it. So they were willing to describe it in that way to ensure that people would profit off of it, which is wild.
It's
terrifying.
I mean, no one says it better than Jordan, and even when he's speechless like he was at the end, like you can feel it and it's real. Now, the way I prefaced that segment was they are doing horrible things in the name of doing good things. So that's how I'm going to link this to all of the political stuff that we are seeing right now. But once they can get the kids, once they can get you, say, to inject your kid with something and you don't know what it does, say COVID vaccine, once they can get you to start giving your kid puberty blockers and hormone blockers and altering their body, what else can they get you to do? I would say pretty much anything. And Rogan makes the point now there's an industry attached to it. So it's not just that it took over like a certain very niche area as it pertained to medicine, the type of doctors that were doing these procedures, and years ago that you had to see many, many therapists over many, many years, and you had to have all sorts of people sign off on the experiments. Actually, that was kind of it was a Freudian slip, but that was kind of right there, that you'd have to have many, many doctors sign off on the quote unquote transition. Now they're just doing it. And we know that this has infiltrated schools as well. So they're reprogramming kids' brains at schools, and now in California can legally hide that from parents. Again, you'll see the wider political part that we're getting to here. But what Jordan talks about there was that at least the Nazis knew they were doing something wrong. When you see footage of the Nazis, at concentration camps, right? They were documenting it for themselves. They weren't broadcasting it to the world, right? But these people now, they are doing it in the name of being good. Jordan continued for a bit on that.
And it's so strange because I never would have believed that this could happen. If you had asked me 20 years ago if this was going to be a main concern, that people were worried about their children being roped into this ideology and convinced that they're
and then sterilized and mutilated.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
Terrifying.
Well, it's no wonder people see, even Michael Schellenberger, who broke the WPATH files, when we talked about the role the WPATH played in establishing their own ideology-addled butchery as the standard of care for the American Medical Association, the American Psychiatric Association, the American Psychological Association, Schellenberger said that after he had listened to Abigail Schreier and I talk about this trans mutilation, he was so appalled that he literally couldn't believe it. He just shelved it. He said, there's no way this can be true. And I can understand that, because the more you look into it, the worse it gets.
Right.
It's unbelievably bad. These surgical procedures are so brutal and so experimental that they're I'm going to say it again, they're worse than what the Mengele types did in the concentration camps in the 30s and 40s. And that's a pretty goddamn low bar.
All right, first off, that word transmutilation is good and right, and I'm going to start using that. Of course, he's talking about Dr. Mengele, who is basically coined the doctor of death by the Nazis, and he would do unbelievably horrible experiments mostly on Jewish children, and he would take twins and try to swap out body parts and all sorts of unbelievably horrible things. There's many, many books that have been written on this. But in essence, what Jordan is saying, they are now doing this level of experimentation. They have no idea what they're doing when they are long-term, when they are taking a kid and chopping off his genitals or a girl's breasts, what they are doing for the rest of their lives, and that they will likely not have healthy sexual relationships and all this. And really to the point that it's fake empathy, as he did the impression of the mother who's, oh, my boy, my son's a little confused and I will take care of him. And what you are doing is destroying his life. And that is what societally is being pushed on us. The NPC, the non-playable character, the meme version of what's being pushed on us right now is all evil, and it's across the board. And again, you will see how we're connecting this transmutilation issue to everything that's happening politically right now. But how is it possible that a generation of parents have done some of the most horrific things imaginable to their kids? Well, let me throw back to my friend Gad Saad about 2 months ago with Joe Rogan.
The problem is when empathy misfires, it either becomes hyperactive or it misfires in directing the empathy to the wrong person. So, for example, illegal immigrants more important than American vets, right? And I can show you many public policies where you have these insane policies, all of which are due to suicidal empathy. So to answer your question, I think that the Western mind is we are kind, tolerant, compassionate, empathetic people. There are people out there, they're Guatemalan, they're Honduran, they're Yemeni, who don't have it as well as we do. Wouldn't it be nice if we open up our doors? So the reflex is a noble one. It's a nice one, but it exists in unicorn.
Okay, it exists in unicornia, that this is the problem, that we all have a hierarchy of needs and wants and things that we place in an important point, right? And then you have to decide what's important to you, and that's what the hierarchy is. But in the West, liberals largely have put empathy at the top of that thing. And once you put that empathy in, it becomes suicidal because you will tolerate anything. So if you take that suicidal empathy and then you take child mutilation and you also open up borders, you will get such a mixed, confused bag of things that society will not know what it is anymore. And the example that I can give you of that, and now you'll see how we're linking this all together, is Paris Olympics 2024, because my God, was that opening ceremony completely and utterly psychotic. We'll get to that in a moment. Let me tell you about Preserve Gold. Guys, a new central bank digital currency is coming and could replace your dollars with digital currency. With it could come surveillance of lives, freezing of assets, and government control over our bank accounts and how we spend our money. Americans who want to protect their liberty and privacy need to prepare themselves for what's to come. That's why many Americans are turning to physical gold and silver to diversify their wealth. If you want help to protect your retirement, I recommend you request your free investment guide from my friends at Preserve Gold today. They'll explore the right options for you and will help you with the process to have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or inside your IRA, 401k, or other qualified retirement account. And they make it easy. They're BBB accredited with 0 consumer complaints and hundreds of satisfied clients. They're also a founding member of the Precious Metals Association, so you know you're in good hands. And as an exclusive offer for my viewers, they'll give you up to $10K in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase or retirement account rollover. They'll even throw in an immediate $500 account credit if you request your investor guide today. Don't wait. Visit preservegold.com/Dave today to get your free gold and silver investment guide and take the first step towards protecting your wealth. preservegold.com/Dave to get your free guide from the good people at Preserve Gold. And now back to me. Okay, so a society that allows everything and does all of this weird stuff to kids and confuses everybody about their gender and all of these things, and then lets in a whole bunch of people who aren't tolerant of those things. Eventually, you could see how that society would come grinding to a halt. Well, I think we are now seeing it at scale because the Olympics in Paris had their opening ceremony over the weekend. And, well, what did it include? How about a drag queen involved in the Last Supper, sort of? Just try to make sense of this.
Québec qui tiens, Philippe Catherine, je vous laisse avec lui. Ça s'appelle nu et là, il y a un choix artistique.
Non, ou cacher un revolver quand on est tout nu. Ou je sais où vous pensez, mais c'est pas une bonne idée. Ouais, plus de riches, plus de pauvres quand on redevient tout nu. Et qu'on soit slim, qu'on soit gros, on est tout simplement tout nu. Nous vivons comme on est né, nus, vivons comme on est né. Simplement tout nu, tout simplement tout nu, tout simplement tout nu. tout simplement tout nu, tout simplement tout nu.
All right, it continues and continues. So I don't know what you have there. Some kind of gender queer smurf with a bunch of trans or drag people behind him. I don't speak French, so I don't know exactly what they're saying. But if you want a good French band, by the way, you guys know Air? Remember Air from the 70s, a little before your time? Check out Air. It's mostly ambient, really super cool. They should have had Airplay. I don't know that they're still out there. But okay, you can see it's like, what is this? The Olympics are supposed to bring us all together, celebrate achievement, everything else. It's just this weird, grotesque thing. And to the backdrop of mocking the Last Supper. So I want to show you this tweet from Greg Price. The Paris Olympics decided to mock the billions of Christians around the world to an international television audience. Last Supper versus Olympic opening ceremony. Of course, you can see the images right there. There's the iconic image of the Last Supper, which is obviously right before Jesus' crucifixion. And then there's the image from Paris. I mean, my God. Now, I want to contrast this for a second. To show you that it wasn't always like this. Like, we're in a time right now where every time you turn on the TV, you see more craziness, right? Neo-racism is being pushed on you. They're pushing the trans nonsense on you. Up is down, left is right. Suddenly Marxism is good and capitalism is bad. And over time, what that will do is it will destroy basically everything. And the thing is with the Olympics are supposed to be the pinnacle of human achievement physically, right? It's like, this is the best of the best from the world. All of the countries are supposed to put aside all of the rest of their BS and compete. It's so beautiful when done right. And it used to be done right. I think probably the peak of the Olympics was 92. I'm soft on this one because it was the original dream team in Barcelona. But check this opening ceremony out when they were lighting the torch. Like, this is just perfection. Like, how absolutely incredible. And by the way, there's a million examples. This we could even when Beijing had it a couple years back, they did some awesome drumming stuff. Like, there's so many ways to show how great everything is. Can you imagine being one of the people in the audience there as the guy with the flaming arrow? Like, if he was a little bit off, like, those are the cheap seats, I guess, over there. But the point is, what they did was decide to politicize it. They decided to push this woke nonsense on it, and they decided to attack Christianity. Elon Musk responded to that video of the trans smurf or whatever it is we just saw there. And he wrote, "Unless there is more bravery to stand up for what is fair and right, Christianity will perish." And I want to show you a couple other responses to this because I thought they were rather interesting. Bishop Barron, Robert Barron, who I've had on the show a couple times, he wrote this in a response to Elon. "My mentor, Cardinal Francis George, remarked that the Christian faith can be lost in a single generation if Christians aren't vigilant. However, it won't be Christianity that will perish, but Western civilization. You cannot separate a tree from its roots and have the tree survive." And that's the exact point that I'm trying to make here. As they are going after Christianity, what they are really going after is Western civilization. They are trying to undo everything that generations way better than us fought and died for, so we could live freely, so we could have independent nation states, and all that, and that is what they're coming after. Now I want to show you a response from Jordan Peterson on this, also responding to Elon Musk's tweet. "There is no difference between standing and speaking for truth and Christianity. It is not about what someone says, often so falsely, about what they believe. It's about whether they put everything on the line for the truth. That is simultaneously the heaviest and lightest of burdens, and the one true cross." I thought that was quite beautiful. And now I thought I'd show you one other tweet on this, which was also interesting. Dr. Eli David tweeted this out. I interviewed him in Israel. He wrote, "Even as a Jew, I am infuriated by this outrageous insult to Jesus and Christianity. How do you feel about it as Christians?" So the point is, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a Christian to be offended by it. You don't have to be a Jew. You don't have to be a believer. You could be atheist, as Elon Musk is largely secular. But what are they really doing here? Like, they're going for the lowest, easiest hanging fruit, because by going after Christianity, they know the Christians aren't going to behead them. They know that the Christians aren't going to rape their women and kill their children and everything else. There are certain religions that they would never go after, right? Which they have this very bizarre, the wokesters have a certain bizarre alliance with one particular religion. But what is happening here? Well, they hate Western civilization. That's why they're attacking Christianity. They hate, it's not just that they hate Christianity, they hate Christianity's big brother, which is Judaism, which is why they're constantly going after Israel. These things are obvious and real, and we're seeing it leak out into everything. So what else is happening in Paris right now? Well, they have a huge problem because France has let in hundreds of thousands of migrants from Africa and the Middle East. They've largely taken over the streets. And check out this video from over the weekend in Paris, where the Olympics are right now. Okay, so I don't know exactly what instigated that or what started it, but this is a daily occurrence in Paris now. Everyone knows that Paris is not the Paris of 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years. How about the Paris of, say, 100 years ago? Do we have video of the Paris of 100 years ago, 1920s? We got one of those? I love those compare and contrast videos, and just to see the juxtaposition, and that's 100 years. What has happened in 100 years? And you can obviously directly correlate this to the suicidal empathy of the West that Gad Saad is talking about. Bring in a whole bunch of people, don't demand anything from them, have the state give them things. Oh, their culture is very different. They don't respect all your liberal values and everything else. Well, do you think this is going to mix? Or is it going to be like oil and water? Well, now we have the evidence. Now let's bring this largely to what is happening in our country, because they have done a coup on Joe Biden. Yes, I believe it is a coup. And they are anointing Kamala queen. And I think you will see how the very horrific ideas coming out of the Olympics are directly connected to what this administration wants to push in. We will do that in a moment, but let me tell you about 1775 coffee. Guys, if you're just an average Joe, you probably don't know that every sip of that big woke corporation owned coffee that you're drinking right now is killing you. That's because US of A does not have only the worst border policy in the world. It also has the worst and lowest standards for coffee quality imports in the entire world, meaning that even the coffee beans that China and Russia reject, you drink. Yes, let that sink in. Most coffee is full of mold and beans sprayed with pesticides. Oh, and if you drink decaf, it's also full of chemicals. It's no wonder you always feel tired, jittery, laggy, and foggy. That's why Rumble, where we drink a lot of coffee, and we drink a ton in this office, we sought out the very best high-quality single-source beans in the world. We found them and have brought them to you, and for a limited time, you can try Rumble's 1775 coffee on a subscription and save 40% off your first bag today. Support freedom of speech and build a parallel economy that values you. Go to 1775coffee.com/Rubin. Right now, pick up your first bag. Use code Rubin to save 40% off your first subscription order. And now back to me. So, okay, let's bring all of these bad ideas that are happening here in the United States as it pertains to our kids and education, and then what the teachers and the doctors are doing to them, and then what's going on over in Paris, which then spreads across the world on television. What's happening in the United States right now? Well, we just had a coup, and Joe Biden, although he may be, again, I guess it still does say president at his desk in the Oval Office, he clearly is not functioning as president. He's fairly close to his deathbed, and there's more and more information on that, actually. But where's his wife right now? Well, Jill Biden, who is the Palpatine of this story, she went to Paris, and she watched what we just showed you there with the weird out-of-shape trans Smurf, and she just loved it. She loved it.
It was spectacular. The rain did not dampen our spirits. And Casey, honestly, every step of the way, I was thinking to myself, oh my God, how are we going to top this? How are we going to top this? So, okay, so Paris has the, Eiffel Tower, but we have Hollywood and the magic of Hollywood that makes all dreams come true. So I think we're going to be okay.
It's like, it's so evil. I don't even know what to do with it anymore. So of course she's talking, it's going to be Salt Lake City, right? Is that what she's talking about? Where the next Olympics are going to be, the Winter Olympics. How are they going to top that trans out of shape Smurf? I don't know, but she thought it was just absolutely wonderful. Now you might be going, Dave, all right, so they had a trans drag queen Smurf and some other drag queens at the opening thing. Why does any of this matter? What is the connection to what's going on with us politically? And why are you showing videos of Jill Biden? You know, Joe's on his way out. Well, of course, what they did was usher in Kamala Harris. And one of Kamala Harris's first things, one of her first things to do as the new anointed one, was to jump on RuPaul's Drag Race and campaign with a couple of drag queens.
We are all in this together, and your vote is your power. So please make sure your voice is heard this November and register to vote at vote.gov.
Can I get an amen?
Amen! Now on with the show.
And remember, you better vote.
Can we talk on it? Just so you know, we're gonna fight every urge not to open drawers, but it's in our DNA.
See, there's John Lewis.
Yeah.
So there we are on the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Wow. Honey, I know, Madam Vice President. Yes.
Okay, so what I want to paint for you is the connection between these crazy ideas and what's ushered in now politically. Now, I should say up top, I don't have any problem with gay people. We played a video of a lesbian a couple days ago on the show, who I thought was fantastic. She had this great New York accent, and she was talking about how the left and the Kamala Harris supporters, they're bringing in all of these people who hate women and who hate gays. And she was basically saying, hey, I'm a lesbian, like, I don't like this. Anyway, apparently the lesbian saw the video. She made a TikTok video about it. I can't remember her name right now, but I'm going to get her Giants tickets or something. I said, what can I get this lesbian? She did a video and she was requesting Giants tickets. A lesbian that likes football. Breaking stereotypes, my friend, but we will make some of that. And I love that New York accent. Anyway, what they're doing is ushering in just all of this craziness. Like no one will know up is down, left is right. Everyone will be confused about everything. And wherever Kamala Harris goes, because what the left has created largely is this intersectional group of people with competing interests that really have nothing to do with each other, right? That's why the jihadists and the Hamas people are on the same side as the gender queer people. In normal circumstances, in an even playing field, they'd be killing each other, mostly the Hamas people killing the gays. But right now, they're loosely holding together the most idiotic intersectional group it's just this horrific monster that's just held together by the thinnest glue possible because Donald Trump is really the evil thing. But every single thing that you are going to hear for the remainder of the next 4 months until we get to November about Kamala Harris is going to be a lie because she is actually a Marxist and a communist. She was polling at 0 to 3% in her own party when she dropped out. Everyone knows all this stuff. And wherever she goes, she just panders. Check out this headline from the Post Millennial. Kamala told Harvey Milk Democratic Club she wanted to be an honorary sex worker. So wherever she goes, oh, I'm with sex workers. Yes, I wanted to be gangbanged. Like, what would the honorary degree even look like? But she is a Marxist. And when I say, so what does that really mean? What that really means is she just believes in government. Just give government power over you, right? Government can be the great equalizer. And what that does is create a largely anti-human environment because people are individuals, but they are all part of the Borg. Dr. Ben Carson went on Tucker Carlson's show to talk a bit about Kamala.
What do you think of Kamala Harris?
I think she is a politician.
Yeah.
And she's interested in the accumulation of power and control.
Do you think she believes in anything?
I think she believes in government, like most Marxists.
Yes.
I think she is a Marxist.
Do you think that she can win?
Absolutely. She can win. This is going to be a great test of the power of the media to take someone who formerly was universally disliked and transform them into a godlike figure. And they will use everything that they have to try to do that. The question is, are the American people smart enough to see through it? And I actually think the American people are smarter than anybody gives them credit for. And I don't think that they are going to be willing to sacrifice what we have in this country, which is what everybody else wants, even though they try to denigrate our country, say we're systemically racist, we're unfair to people. If we were all that bad, why are all these people trying to get in here? And why aren't people trying to get out of here? So we know that we have something that's very good. And I think the American people realize that, and they're not willing to give that up and trade that for something inferior.
You know, I always say that thing about you can tell if someone's telling the truth just by the way that they're speaking. Like there's an ease to it. They're not screaming. What the left does with everything is they're outraged, they're screaming. That's why AOC's hands are flying around all the time. All of the lefty pundits are constantly on the verge of tears because none of it's real, actually. It's all overly emotive to hide the truth. Ben Carson right there is just like calmly laying out the truth. It's so easy to understand in the terms of everyone wants to come here and no one wants to leave. It's the same thing as California. Why is everyone leaving California and no one's going to California? We all know these things. I also love the fact that he has faith in the American people that we will see this. But of course, the main point there is, can the media do the trick? The media, which lies about everything. We knew it was going to do the trick, right? I read you my tweet from a couple weeks ago where I knew they were going to get rid of Biden. And then I said, then they'll rewrite a script right in front of our eyes. Well, the script has been rewritten right in front of our eyes. And now it's all about Kamala momentum. And my God, everyone does love her. And they're lying about her past and everything else. But will people fall for it? Will enough people fall for it? I pray to God not. And why do I pray to God not? Because she is actually a Marxist. Again, what would a Marxist believe? Government should have all power, and it should rejigger everything so we all become the same. Again, we are not the same. We are all different, and that is good. Here's Kamala on equity versus equality.
So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests often everybody should get the same thing. Well, that often assumes everybody started out in the same place, as opposed to equity, which is everyone should end up in the same place. And if you then understand not everybody started out in the same place, you understand some people need more. So we all end up in the same place, right? It has to be about a goal of saying everybody should end up in the same place. And since we didn't start in the same place, some folks might need more. Equitable distribution. Giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. We are proud of the fact that equity is one of our guiding principles. Proud of the fact that we understand equality is important, but not everybody starts out on the same base. We see that people in our country are having an experience that is not equal. So when we talk about the work we are doing here together, it is recognizing that and being guided by this principle of what we must do in the spirit and in the interest of equity.
Guys, it's not just that she shouldn't be president. It's that she should basically be as far away from being president as humanly possible. Everything that she just repeatedly said there is exactly what our founders did not want. They did not want the idea that the government would set up everything and we'd all end up in the same place. It doesn't even make sense. We're all going to end up being vice president. We're all going to end up being president. We're all going to end up being billionaires. We're all going to end up being millionaires. What she means is we are going to take a hatchet to successful people and we are going to give stuff to other people. Yeah, we all start differently. Some people start off children of billionaires. Some people start off with their mother being a crack addicted somebody on the street. And then we all love the stories of success. And we actually love the stories when the people who are handed it all fail. Like that is the mystery of life. That is the challenge of life. But what she's saying is give all of the power to us and we will do it. She is a genuine danger to America. So again, we better hope that Ben Carson is right and that more people will see it, because you can see that the government is going, or the government, that was another good Freudian slip, that the media is going out of its way right now to frame her as a moderate or a good guy or something like that. And she is not. Let's just continue with some of her pandering and drivel. Here she is talking about tax rates.
So these are some of the ways, but we've got to increase the corporate tax rate. We also have to increase taxes for the top 1%. And that part of that is going to be about repealing that tax bill that they just passed. And also looking at estate taxes are going to have to go up.
Many people watching at home have health insurance of their employer. Who here would abolish their private health insurance in favor of a government-run plan? All right.
All right, so let's do the last part first. I showed you that clip last week. Only she and Bernie put their hands up, I think. You had all radical leftists up there, and most of them even realized, oh, we're going to have no private insurance. It's complete nonsense, because rich people are always going to have private insurance, and they're always going to find the best doctors, or they won't have insurance at all. They'll just have money until you try to take it from them too, and then they will pay doctors. But just the idea that we should just have government-running health insurance, and it sounds great. Oh, everyone will have equal health insurance. Except over time, we know this with Obamacare. Ask any of your friends who are doctors, or for those of you that are doctors, what has happened? It means more paperwork. It means more longer lines to get in. It means less chance that the doctor is going to be successful over time because they're bogged down in this bureaucratic bullshit. So she is a true radical leftist. Also, when she's talking about raising taxes, like if you're looking at all the problems of the world right now and you think, oh, the answer is just that the government needs more money. We should just raise corporate taxes. Well, okay, you could raise corporate taxes and then corporations will fire people because corporations want to make money. You could go after the 1%. The 1% means you make about $400,000 a year. So I am in the 1%. So do you think that if you take more of my money, that's going to solve any problems? No. But what it might do is I might at the end of the year be like, oh, I'm actually making a little less. I'm not going to hire a new person this year, or we're not going to invest in new cameras this year or anything else. So everything they do is to destroy freedom. It is to destroy enterprise, and it is to destroy actually the American dream, because the American dream is the pursuit of happiness. What the pursuit of happiness implicitly means is that you're going to go out and get yours. You're just going to pursue it. You got a freaking chance. And that's what they are trying to destroy. But let's continue, because everywhere she goes, she panders to the audience that she is standing in front of. Here she is at some sort of Muslim conference, and she's very upset about the term radical Islamic terror, which, is just a descriptive term for when radical Islamists cause terror.
When they use that term, radical Islamic terrorism, which ignores how Muslims have overwhelmingly been the greatest victims of terror.
So what should we call radical Islamic terror when, say, Hamas jumps into a country and kills babies and burns women alive, or say the attacks that happened in London or that have happened in Paris, or these people yelling Allahu Akbar are killing people? What should we call it? Would that be better for you? But it's nothing other than pandering dribble so she can keep that intersectional alliance together. Of course, at the same time, while she's pandering to the Islamists, she also had a major heavy hand in defunding the police. You remember we had those 3 years, including the Summer of Love in 2020, when there was this constant move by the Democrats to defund the police. And in every place that they defunded the police, like Minnesota and Portland and Seattle and New York and elsewhere, crime went up, murder went up, mayhem went up. But here she is praising defund the police.
Defund the police. The issue behind it is that we need to reimagine how we are creating safety. And when you have many cities that have 1/3 of their entire city budget focused on policing, we know that is not the smart way and the best way or the right way to achieve safety. This whole movement is about rightly saying we need to take a look at these budgets and figure out whether it reflects the right priorities. For too long, the status quo thinking has been you get more safety by putting more cops on the street. Well, that's wrong. That's a legitimate conversation, and it requires a really critical evaluation. I applaud Eric Garcetti for doing what he's done.
Yeah, so Eric Garcetti, mayor of Los Angeles, and I lived there at that time, he defunded the police and crime went bananas. We have seen this in various cities where now police, they basically don't work from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. So you call 911 and they're like, well, get back to us in the morning. Ask the people of New York and everything else. You guys get it. Again, that should be a disqualifier. Also, what she said is completely untrue. When you have more police on the street, you have safer cities. We know that. Fact. period. Does not mean the police are perfect all the time, but it is a fact. Of course, the other thing that they are trying to run cover for her on right now is the border, because Biden did make her the border czar. They are scraping that from the internet as we speak. MSNBC is lying about it. CNN is lying about it and more, but she has been the border czar. Whatever that means, she supposedly was in charge of the border. We we played you the video many times of her sitting there with Lester Holt. I visited the border. Did you visit the border? Oh, I didn't visit the border, but I didn't visit Europe either. Again, everything she says is a lie. But here is Joe Biden, because they're going to keep pushing this. They are going to keep pushing that she was never in charge of the border. Here's Biden saying that he actually did put her in charge of the border, and a bit of what she wanted to do when she was in charge of that border.
I've asked her, the VP today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle and the countries that help. We're going to need help in stemming the movement of so many folks, stemming the migration to our southern border.
Listen, I think there's no question that we've got to critically re-examine ICE and its role and the way that it is being administered and the work it is doing, and we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
There's so much there. First off, it's years ago. You can already see Biden's brain melting down. It's hilarious now in retrospect watching people wear masks. Biden says she's the most qualified person to do it. Did she ever have a job as a border agent? Did she ever have anything to do with the border ever? Had she ever even been to the border when you made her border czar? And then, of course, what she's mostly concerned with is that we've got to get rid of ICE. The people that are here making sure that illegal immigrants who are committing crime are not staying here. Those are the people we should really look to reform. It's sort of like reforming the police who are doing the job of policing in, say, dangerous areas. We should look into them. Those are the problems. Of course, what happens when you let a completely unqualified Marxist like Kamala Harris in charge of the border? Well, this weekend, tweet from the Millennial Post, border agents say they probably let terrorists in as Palestinians with ties to terror were apprehended. Oh, okay, so we'll just go on the assumption that none of the other 12 million people had any ties to anything, and all the Chinese nationals and the people from Africa and the Middle East, they're all coming in because they want to be florists, you know what I mean? Anyway, it's just, the thing is, whether it was Kamala that they anointed, or whether it was Pete or Elizabeth Warren or Crazy Bernie or AOC, any of these people, they're all interchangeable pieces. None of them believe in anything other than Marxism. They believe in attaining power. They believe in sucking off the system. Sucking. Speaking of which, here's Pete excusing the murders of American citizens by illegals, and then we'll do a little Elizabeth Warren too. These are, well, the preface really here is these are just horrible people who are liars.
I saw something else really important happening at the Republican National Convention on the border and the talk about immigration, which we all recognize is a problem, which is they tried to paint this narrative that if you live somewhere far from the border and immigration hasn't affected you personally, you need to think that immigration is a driver of crime. That was the real message. Immigration leads to crime.
Well, there are blue state governors and mayors who say every state is a border state now. That's Democrats.
Yeah,
saying.
and now they're saying, but what the false message of the RNC was that this is leading to an increase in crime.
Well,
and I think it's really important that we talk about
have
crime.
been very high profile about people if they had they not been in this country illegally.
The border to have more resources in the states and cities that are supporting migrants. And I believe we need to create a pathway to citizenship. All of that is a part of what we need to do for comprehensive immigration reform. Kamala Harris will work with Congress and get that done.
God, they're just so horrible. You really need to understand, Pete is just a guy in a suit with a short haircut. That's it. It could have been anybody. They could have taken any gay guy who roughly sounds like Obama and put him there in that job, and he got the job because he's gay. Again, I don't have a problem with gay people. My husband's gay. I'm gay after 10. You get it. You get what's going on here. Everything he said, it's just nonsense. Go, Pete. Pete, go. Go without your security. Go to any of these cities and just hang out and wander around and see how it works out for you and your family. It would not work out well. Everyone knows it, and that's why so many people are fleeing blue states and cities. Again, we could just go back to that Ben Carson thing. Which way are people going? They want to be in America, right? But then they don't want to be in blue cities. We know that. And then, of course, Elizabeth Warren, what's the main issue about immigration? It's not that we should stop these people from coming in. We should just have more resources for them, and we should have a pathway to citizenship. Again, it's just complete nonsense. Elizabeth Warren, who's worth about $100 million, who I have no doubt lives in a crazy mansion with ridiculous security and everything else, like awful, awful human beings. But what's happening now is there is a little bit of pushback happening. Like more and more people, because the online media does exist, are exposing the fact that Kamala was tasked with this job of border czar, but they are running cover for her. Check this out from Time magazine. Kamala Harris was never Biden's border czar. Here's what she really did. Oh, is that a fact? Oh, and there's Axios. The Trump campaign and Republicans have tagged Harris repeatedly with border czar title, which she never had. Okay, that's interesting. Time magazine, she was never border czar. Axios, she was never border czar. Do we have maybe a congressional document where they actually tell you that she is? We do have that. Oh my God, Viva Fry, my friend. Remember everyone, Kamala Harris was never the border czar. Believe the lie, repeat the lie, because you're Democrats. It's what Democrats do. And this is from congress.gov, resolution 253. You can see it all right there. And the resolution officially refers to Vice President Kamala Harris, named border czar. So they will lie. They will keep lying. And the base, they love the lies because all they want is power. You really need to understand that. No, the base are mostly a bunch of idiots. So you have a bunch of idiots and then a layer of people who only want power. And people that only want power want to keep the idiots stupid. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which way you're looking at it, they have perfected this freaking thing. Of course, the other thing that they're doing, it's not just that they're lying about Kamala's history and everything else, it's that they're also trying to tell us that this whole movement behind her, it's grassroots, right? It's grassroots. Even though nobody voted for her, even though we know the party insiders, Obama and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, forced Biden out, and there's more info on that we'll get to in a second, and it had nothing to do with any grassroots movement ever. Here's MSNBC and CNN explaining that, no, it is totally grassroots. Yeah, go.
Thousands of regular people breaking Zoom daily in their enthusiasm to win with Kamala. Black men, South Asian women, South Asian men, white women, LGBTQ Americans, Latinas, everybody. There's even a white dudes for Harris call on Monday. This kind of enthusiasm can't be manufactured. It's organic.
But the plane's already in the air, and the good news is that the people are sort of powering this thing. So you see, 44,000 black women come out, and then you see 170,000 almost white women come out on another phone call, and then you see African-American men and Latino. Like, this thing is growing in a kind of organic way that I don't think many of us who are watching it expected that kind of energy.
Oh my God, guys, it's totally organic. And we've got Asian men and we've got South Asian women and black women and midgets and everybody's into this. It's so obvious. It's so ridiculous. I cannot wait for 3 days from now. I am disappearing. Everything they say is a lie, and you just have to decide do you want to play with the lies or not? And I get it. And you've got to give the devil his due. They will keep lying. And they will keep dragging people into the abyss with them. But this is what they're gonna do. It's grassroots, it's organic, it's just so organic, you know what I mean? A week ago, we were all saying that the man with dementia is perfect and he's gonna be great. And then something happened and now it's all organic. We all love this woman that nobody liked before. It's so organic, oh my God, it's like organic ice cream, it's delicious. So what else has happened here? The backdrop of all of this is that there was a coup last week. It was a week after they shot the other guy. We probably should focus on the coup for a minute. This is a tweet from Amuse, the Amuse account on Twitter, breaking more details behind the bloodless coup our nation just experienced from Seymour Hersh. By Saturday, July 20th, former President Barack Obama was deeply involved, and there was talk that he would place a call to Biden. It was not clear whether Biden had been examined or just what happened to him in Las Vegas. The big three, the official said, referring to former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer, and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, continued to be directly involved. On Sunday morning, the official told Seymour Hersh, with the approval of Pelosi and Schumer, Obama called Biden after breakfast and said, here's the deal. We have Kamala's approval to invoke the 25th Amendment. The amendment provides that when the president is determined by the vice president and others to be unfit to carry out the powers of the duties of his office, the vice president shall assume those duties. On Monday, July 15th, Biden took off on Air Force One on a campaign trip to Nevada, a toss-up state that Biden won in 2020 by a little more than 30,000 votes. On Tuesday, he gave a keynote address to 5,000 members at the NAACP annual convention. The next day, the president, apparently stricken while campaigning with a yet-to-be-revealed illness, broke from his schedule and made a police escort race to Air Force One after initially telling police they were heading to the nearest emergency room. A series of blog posts, local police reports, internet messages, and a report in the Daily Mail disclosed further details of Biden's trip to Las Vegas and his abrupt return home to Delaware. Seymour Hersh reviewed these reports this week with a senior official in Washington who helped him fashion an account of the White House in complete disarray, culminating the president's withdrawal from the race. It's a story not unlike 7 Days in May, the Cold War thriller in which a colonel played by Kirk Douglas foils a coup staged by general played by Burt Lancaster. None of what you read below comes from an official account by the White House. So, okay, I know this sounds a little editorialized. I do want to add that my friend, and he's been on the show several times, Jordan Schachtel, who is a fine journalist, he has spoke to several, and he wrote about this in his Substack. He has spoke to several of the people in Las Vegas. Biden had some sort of medical emergency. We don't know what it is. Now, the rest of the story there, we know that Chuck was showing up to the White House and that Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi were there. Now, the part we don't, I guess, have evidence for, but it's being told by an official there is, did Obama call him and say that we have Kamala ready to 25th Amendment you? And if that is the case, then we have a coup on our hands. Now, I know that we're not going to stop the coup. We're not reversing the coup. Like, it just keeps moving. It keeps moving. But again, this is where I just say you just have to see what's happening. But that is what they did. And I would also say that if Kamala is responsible for upending her own party by threatening the 25th Amendment, then why wouldn't she upend anything in America? Well, I think she damn well would. And who is, I said that Jill Biden is the Palpatine in all of this, but that's not really giving enough credit to Barack Obama. The Obamas called Kamala on a completely impromptu, this is so spontaneous and real. It's just so awesome when you get to see like something just so genuine and real. They called Kamala, she happened to be on camera for the endorsement, and look how real it is and how she holds the phone, even though it's on speaker. It's just so authentic and real. I love it.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi, you're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me. I am looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
It's just so genuine. Like it makes it's heartwarming that genuine friendship between the Obamas and the woman that they just installed, potential president of the United States after they threw the old windbag under the desk. Like, it's just absolutely insane. But let's continue, because again, what this is all about is grabbing power. They have no respect for any of the norms, any of our laws, and they just want more power. Marxists want power. They want government power over everything. Do you have any evidence of that, Dave? I do, actually, because over the weekend, there was a video that was going absolutely viral. It is obviously an AI dubbed speech from Kamala Harris. It got millions and millions of views. Elon Musk shared it. I shared it. Many other people shared it. It's spectacular and hilarious, but I'll let you make your decision on that, and then we'll talk about what happened after.
I, Kamala Harris, am your Democrat candidate for president because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility of the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant. Talking about the significance of the passage of time. right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time. Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Anyway, it's so obviously fake, it's ridiculous, right? It's actually truer in a way than anything she has ever said, but it is obviously fake. It was shared by millions and millions of people. And what was the backdrop of all of this? Well, that these people, these Marxists, want the government to come in and stop anything, or stop everything. So evil lizard person himself, Gavin Newsom, he saw that. He didn't like that it was showing people what's really going on here. And here's what he tweeted when he saw that video. Manipulating a voice in an ad like this should be illegal. I'll be signing a bill into a matter of weeks to make sure that it is. Now, first off, it was not an ad. It wasn't a paid for ad by a campaign. You might be able to make some argument about campaign finance if, say, the Trump campaign put that out. That might be something. That was just some meme maker that did it. I don't even know who did it. Okay, that is the point. It's parody. We are still allowed to make jokes about you people. Actually, that's mostly what we have left is jokes and mockery of you people. So that's the point. Elon, of course, saw that and he wrote, I checked with world-renowned authority, Professor Sugan D's Nuts, and he said parody is legal in America. So yes, so Gavin Newsom, you're going to try to pass a law to stop parody. My God, you people are evil. But let's continue. Let's continue. How do we really destroy these ideas? Well, I think the way you destroy these ideas is you expose them and you really make people think about what they are suddenly supporting, okay? Because we are now told that there is organic grassroots momentum behind a woman that nobody liked 2 weeks ago. And we're being told that by the same people who 3 weeks ago told us that Joe Biden is completely fine. So who is this lady? Who is Kamala Harris? Well, I would say she's not just that she's Marxist, she's deeply anti-human. Here she is suggesting that people shouldn't have kids because of, yes, you guessed it, climate change.
I've heard young leaders talk with me about a term they've coined called climate anxiety. Period. Right? Which is fear of the future and the unknown, of whether it makes sense for you to even think about having children, whether it makes
Oh my God, you're having anxiety. Yeah, I'd have anxiety if I was hanging out with you people, if I didn't know what my genitals were and I thought that people were coming at me for my race and I thought that America was systemically evil and everything else. So yes, they are anti-children, they are anti-human, they are anti-family. They just are. I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I don't want unity with these people. And you shouldn't want unity with them either, because when they tell you they want unity with you, they mean that you will live on your knees forever. Like 5 jokes there that I'm not making because I'm just trying to get to this next clip. So what do you do to fight back? You fight back by making fun of them and mocking them, and then never apologize. As Jordan Peterson always says, you only should apologize when you've done something wrong. So there is a video I'm going to show you first. This is J.D. Vance. This is a couple of years ago. He's on Tucker Carlson show when he's on Fox, so you know it's a couple of years ago. Talking about women who are childless, and he's relating this to Kamala Harris. Well, just take a look, and I want to show you because there's been a big firestorm about this, so take a look.
Saying is that we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
Okay, a couple things I want to hit here. So first off, ironically, Pete actually does have kids now. So the gay guy has kids before the women does, which is kind of a funny thing in and of itself. Also, there are many reasons why women either physically cannot have kids or choose not to have kids. And, you know, we've discussed it many times. Like it is generally one of the things you need to have a fully actualized life, but not always, of course. And you can argue that that argument falls flat on for a lot of women and everything else. But basically everyone all weekend was going after JD on that he hates women, he wants to control women, you know, all of the usual stuff. So what do? You just don't apologize. Don't apologize. You take the fight to them. They want to keep us, again, all on our knees, all apologizing. JD was at a campaign event and he's not apologizing.
I saw the other day Kamala Harris question my loyalty to this country. That's the word she used, loyalty. And it's an interesting word, simplify, loyalty, because there is no greater sign of disloyalty to this country than what Kamala Harris has done at our southern border. And I'd like to ask the Vice President, what has she done to question my loyalty to this country? I served in the United States Marine Corps. I went to Iraq for this country. I built a business for this country. And my running mate took a bullet for this country. So my question to Kamala Harris is, what the hell have you done to question our loyalty to the United States of America? And the answer, my friends, is nothing. So let's send a message to the media. Let's send a message to Kamala Harris. Let's send a message to every hardworking patriot from Minnesota across the country. We are ready to have President Donald J. Trump back, and we're going to work our tails off to make sure it happens. God bless you all. Thank you. And thank you for having me, Minnesota, a great state.
Look, you could like JD, you could not like JD, you could have wanted somebody else or anything else, but the heart of what he's saying there is right. He served in this country, right? He served in the military, which he did after 9/11. That's what kind of woke him up. He built a business. He's become an extremely successful businessman in this country. He is now putting it on the line for a guy that was just shot, right? So that means he's kind of in the crosshairs of that too, pun intended. Right. And Kamala has done nothing but try to undermine this country and try to destroy this country. I think we've done a hell of a job in the last hour laying that out. So the other thing that I think we have to do right now is we still, as always, we've got to get the liberals who are waking up. And I know it's a Monday show. We haven't shown you a clip of Bill Maher yet. We got one for you. I know Bill will never vote for Donald Trump. I fully accept it. We got stoned a couple of weeks ago and I had to grant him that. OK, he's not voting for Trump. But what I will give him credit for, because he's an actual liberal as opposed to a brainwashed progressive, is he's still calling out the Kamala BS.
Vice President will get all of Biden's campaign money, and on the Democrats' best issue, abortion, she's a walking reminder to women that Republicans are coming for the abortion pill. She won't just protect Plan B, she is Plan B. And as a former prosecutor, Kamala was putting criminals in jail back before liberals decided that was a bad thing. Now that CVS is locking the shaving cream behind plexiglass, Democrats are coming around to her again. Harris would be the first woman president, first black woman president, and first Asian president. But I don't vote for who will be the first. I vote for who will win. And for whatever reason, Harris has never been popular. You can count the number of delegates she won in the 2020 primaries on one hand, as long as that hand has no fingers. In 3 years as vice president, she's been quieter than an electric car. And like an electric car, your MAGA uncle can't explain why she fills him with homicidal rage. She just does. Sometimes life isn't fair. It's not fair that she's not popular. She's intelligent and accomplished, and in fact, was put in charge of the border. And look at how... Okay, bad example.
Okay, you get it. He's doing a little bit of everything always, and he has to throw in the MAGA stuff and all that, but he's acknowledging she's not popular. The border joke at the end, like, if you are liberal, flashback again to the lesbian video from last week. I can't remember her name. Does anyone remember her name? It doesn't matter at the moment, but I will contact you. Like, if you care about anything that is liberal, if you care about women or minorities or anything else, then the border is the number one issue. Everything is downstream from immigration, period. That's how it works. So Bill is acknowledging nobody likes her. She has no track record of doing anything. And the few things that she was tasked with, or in this case, the one thing that she was tasked with in the last 3.5 years, she absolutely destroyed, which is the border. So how do we bring this all together? I think the point here, guys, whether we're starting talking about that gender situation or what's going on with the Paris Olympics right now, or how the Democrats just lied about Biden and now they're lying about Kamala and exposing all of that. That's a lot. That's a lot for any of us to deal with. But what you can do is maybe clean your room a little bit. You could get your act together, your relationship better. And if you do that, then I know this is constantly a theme, but it's not just a theme because I believe it. It's true. It's just true. If you do a little of that, then society might start getting fixed. It is the only freaking way, because they are never going to stop. The media is never going to admit it. They will never give up the gig. They won't. It's too profitable. It's too powerful for them. Jordan Peterson.
The instinct of meaning comes to you when you pursue a pathway that specifies, what would you say, the limitless development of your integrated psyche. But it's not just the psyche, it's the integration of the psyche with all the different levels of society. Like, for example, insofar as you're well put together, you're going to be a highly functional husband to your wife, right? Like, your own psychological organization, integration, cannot be divorced from the union that you make with your wife. They're the same thing. And then you can extend that to your kids. For you to get your act together means simultaneously that you establish the proper relationship with your wife and with your children. Those are the same thing. And then if you can manage that, you do the same thing with the broader community. It all stacks up musically. And so then mental health doesn't become how your psyche is organized internally, which is what the clinical psychologists misled people into believing. It's more like the harmony that obtains from the psyche upward through society when everything is stacked up properly to the up to the highest level possible of being. And that's another definition of God. So one of the things I tried to do in this book is to actually define what it is that we're arguing about, because the old man in the sky superstition doesn't cover the territory. So, for example, if you look at God in the story of Abraham and you say, do you believe in that God? What you're asking, even though you might not know it, is, do you believe that there is a call to adventure and that following that call will not only integrate you, but serve society in the highest possible manner? And that's a pretty straightforward question. It has very little to do with anything that's even vaguely superstitious. Like, is that call there? You certainly reward it in your children if you have the least bit of sense.
He's good. He's really, really good, right? Like, that's it. That's it. And we all kind of know it. And it doesn't mean we all do it all the time. And I include myself in that. I'm trying. I would say I'm as close to it as I've been in probably my existence. But like, if we can do that right, if we can right those relationships to the extent that we can, and then we start doing it right, so then you're a better spouse and you're a better parent and you're a better member of the community, and that starts kind of working. The pieces, think about it like Tetris. It starts working and getting rid of the bad stuff, right? You fit it all together and then you're shuffling out the bad stuff. You can continually play this incredible game and invite more people to it, and then hopefully get the world to start doing it, at least your community first, and then build up that way. Like, that is the chance, because whether it's the Paris Olympics or what they're doing with your kids or the lies that they're going to push on you from this woman that nobody likes, who is filled with horrible ideas and a horrific track record, they will not stop, but you can't control that. So the other thing is perhaps something that you could control a little bit. Guys, my full interview with Daily Wire's Michael Knowles is up right now, absolutely ad-free over on Locals, and we got a post-game show. We had a fantastic on Thursday. We did a Locals live meetup here in Miami, and it was a sweaty night filled with tequila. It was just an absolute blast. It was great to see so many of you guys, and we got a post-game show, rubinreport.locals.com, in about 30 seconds. 2 more shows, and then I disappear. Goodbye.
I was a high school debater and I got a scholarship to college. Woohoo! I got a scholarship to college. Yay! I got a scholarship to college. Yay! I was a high school debater and I got a scholarship to college. Woo! I got a scholarship to college. Yay! I got a scholarship to college. Debater, yes! I got a scholarship to college. Yay! I got a scholarship to college. Yay! I got a scholarship. Yay!